Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, if you are particularly observant, you might notice a slight change in the background. More of that in a moment. It was really nice yesterday to have the chance to have another chat with Dave Bogotka, and he sent me a large detailed report of things that he's observed going on. Of course, inevitable when you speak to Dave, you get a sense of some of the despair, if you like, for some of the people in Manitowoc, that things going on there that should not be. Somewhat similar, I suppose, to a couple of weeks back when, again, we had Chad and Juan talking about the corruption and how high, wide, and whatever the corruption is over there, painting a slightly sort of bleak picture. But if that's how it is, that's how it is, and we just have to hope that things will change. A saying I learned a long time back is that a fool never learns from their mistakes, whereas a sensible person does learn from their mistakes. But a wise person learns from other people's mistakes. Okay, so what's different in the background? The more observant among you will have noticed I am down to just 2 books rather than 3. I still have my Illusion of Justice and Wrecking Crew, but the Shaun Attwood book, which chronologically of course was the first of those 3 to come out, and of course includes a little bit from Eric Ose himself in the book, is not there. The Unmaking a Murderer book is not there. No harm has come to the book, in fact quite the opposite. Here in the UK, certainly in Scotland, and I think this was actually mentioned in my video of my 25 greatest Americans, which sparked the Captain Crunch debate. I pointed out that in Forrest Gump, the film Forrest Gump, there are so many references to landmark history of America, things that were particularly important, Vietnam War, etc. Elvis Presley, the smiley face when he wiped off all the mud, the expression and everything. Forrest Gump is so full of iconic American history that here in the UK, one of the things that kids at high school do is they watch Forrest Gump so that they get a better understanding of American history. Because with it being recent American history, it comes under the heading, certainly we didn't have this when I was at school, a subject called Modern Studies. And for me, I don't think there's any doubt that the Making a Murderer, the Steven Avery saga, will be very, very important. It will be a landmark moment when he's released for a second time, along with Brendan, because it will be such an important moment in history. It's going to be one of those moments where we're all going to remember where we were the day we heard that Steve and Brendan were being released. I suspect it'll probably be Steve first, and then immediately as soon as Steve is released, Laura and Steve Drizzen will be getting Brendan out very shortly. When they are released, of course, yes, there will be a certain amount of celebrating. But unfortunately, for me, it won't be a case of one side has won and one side has lost. No amount of Steve winning his freedom will replace the lost years and the marriage and everything, and the kids, time with the kids. But of course, I'm not denying the fact that yes, it'll be great when he is released. So, has anybody won? Will anybody win? Will any wise people learn from the mistakes of others? Well, yes, I believe that the young people of the world, they do take a particular interest in making a murderer and will learn from the mistakes made in that. My book, I've lent to one of my pupils, a teenager who has watched both episodes and is keen to find out more. And I said, well, I'll lend you all 3 books, but let's do them in the order of the Sean Atwood book first, followed by Illusion of Justice, then Wrecking Crew. I can't find at the moment my Innocent Killer Mike Griesbach book, but I'm not too disappointed about that. It'll be kicking around somewhere. It really isn't that important. It's a little bit like Ken Kratz's book. You only need to read the reviews to realise that there's nothing of any importance to be gained from them. Indeed, I remember that a lot of reviews of Ken Kratz's book is the fact that the same stuff is regurgitated over and over again, repackaged, represented, to make it just to pad it out, to make it seem as if there's some case there, but of course there's not. Some of you remember that a while back David Rudolph replied to mine and Eric Ose's tweets about The Staircase and Mike Peterson. And of course, quite rightly, David Rudolph pointed out that, well, to put in the picture, I'd said it's a shame that there weren't videos like those done by Eric Ose to feature other accidents of people falling downstairs. And of course, as David Rudolph quite rightly pointed out, there was no YouTube around when Mike Peterson was put on trial. And of course, nowadays, this is the thing that the youngsters have at their disposal. They've got everything. You know, I must admit, I had great trouble yesterday trying to get onto this new website, Stand with KZ. I had to send a message to Eric Ose saying, what do I do? Where do I go? And rather than try and explain to me, he simply sent me the link. So now I've got the link. So I think I know where to go. But as I say, as far as the youngsters coming up, they will learn by the mistakes of the past. And yet, talking about David Rudolph, our very good friend Mark will be seeing David Rudolph and Laura Nyrider and Steve Drizing in Australia in, I believe, just over a month's time. So Mark, obviously give them all my best regards. I must admit, I did particularly enjoy my chat with David Rudolph when I was in Amsterdam. Had a chance to spend quite a bit of time chatting with him. As I said, fools don't learn by their mistakes. For me, fools are those in law enforcement and in government in Manitowoc. They didn't learn by their mistake. They are going to be found out. Some sensible people in other states have realised that, you know, we're not saying that Manitowoc is the only place where corruption occurs, but other places are doing their utmost to try and rectify the problem, so that hopefully the wise people that learn from the mistakes of others will be those in the future, our children and our children's children. They will be the ones that will benefit from seeing the mistakes. Mistakes, that's using the word kindly, deliberate mistakes, corruption. I think we've seen it all. And for me, one of the biggest grievances I would have with both Manitowoc and the state of Wisconsin has been their constant trying to deny that anything has been wrong, their complete failure to accept any responsibility. And I think it's just absolutely tremendous that we're now getting to the stage where even Kathleen Zellner can see exactly just how deceitful the Attorney General's office is. Anyway, I've just finished my meeting, so just thought I'd do a quick video, and I'm going to enjoy a bit of old Pulteney upstairs while I maybe watch some cricket. Typical, the phone rings. Just ignore it, please. I always do anyway. But just before I go, quick message for Eric Jose. Hope everything goes according to plan when you have your very important little mission to accomplish tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be fine, and we can't say anything at the moment. Does it have anything to do with the comment about Mrs. Doubtfire? Possibly, possibly. More about that in the future though. As I say, just to recap, yes, when you speak to some of the people who, like Dave, who's had the misfortune of living in Manitowoc and has seen for himself what goes on there, as I say, we really do hope that, and I'm sure it's going to happen. I'm sure that the Steven Avery case is such, to use the term by Steve Drizzen, it is such a heater that it will be the one that people in 100 years' time, 200 years' time, they'll still refer back to the Steven Avery case as being how not to do things, and they'll be talking about how things changed, how things improved once all the corruption was exposed, and certain members of Manitowoc and the state are forced to accept responsibility for what they've done. Anyway, we'll catch you soon. Bye for now.